Hello. Good evening, lovely viewers. Good evening, folks. Welcome to today's streaming. We are live. Yes. Okay. Oh, no, I don't want this one. Press escape. Yes. Okay, so that I can see the chat. Yes, welcome once again on a Tuesday with Ellen on Life's Journey with Ellen. Here, when we come, we talk everything about work, everything how to manage our work, how to get in, how to return to work if we've been off for some time, and how to maintain our work. Yes. Let me share this to a page and we will make a start. Good. Okay, copy link. Yeah. Do I do? Paste. Paste. Post. Okay, good. Yes. Today's caption, so provocative. All that goes into making a cup of tea. When I came up with this topic, I was thinking, like, what do you mean by all that goes into making a cup of tea? Okay. Hopefully, if you stay with me till the next 30 minutes, you're going to have a full understanding of all that goes into making a cup of tea. Yes, it's very, very compressed. Is like pregnant with meaning, and I'm going to take my time to break it down so that you will know all that goes into making a cup of tea. Let me put all the disclaimers out there. Yes. One, I'm not a British. No. And me, Ellen, I'm not the person who make the best cup of tea. I have evidence to that because a friend of mine has vowed never to let me make a cup of tea for her because all that I do is I get milk and dip a tea bag in it. Yes. So if I'm going to talk about making a cup of tea, am I the best person to talk about making a cup of tea? Not too sure, but hey, let's see. Okay, yeah, on the serious part, I chose this topic so that we can talk about all the complexities, all the things that goes into us as human beings doing the basic of things. So I chose making a cup of tea because I'm so fascinated about how people at the workplace make cup of tea. I came to England and I see people making a cup of tea, and it's like an everyday activity that people do. That for most people we take for granted. We just do it. And we don't kind of take moments to break it down, to know the complexity as to what is required to completing that simple task of making yourself a cup of tea. Okay. Yes, it's the same thing like us getting up from a bed, going to school, walking, playing our favorite video game, or doing the things that we love to do. When we are well and everything is intact, we've got full use of our body, we got all our body structures intact, we tend to do these things without thinking, without reasoning around it. It has become automatic. So today, what I want us to do is to break down a simple task as to making a cup of tea, break it, unpack, rip it apart so that if somebody is telling you, I can't make a cup of tea, you're not going to say that it's a simple thing that the person can't do, but you appreciate the layers and the complexity. And I chose this example so that I can help you, the person who, like one way or the other, it may be you. You've been struggling to return to work. You've been struggling to stay in work. You've been struggling to do the things that you want to do. But for one reason or the other, your motivation to do that is not there. Yes, that is where I want us to take the conversation today. Okay. So, as human beings, as people, and I'll start being a bit theoretical, like giving a bit of the background, the theory. As people, yes, you and I, there is a belief, or we believe that we are born, we are a being that is very much innate in us, that we do things. Yes, for human beings, if you look at human being, you consider a being that do things. And to say a being that do things includes all the things that you do. So in your 24 hours, whatever you do with your 24 hours, yes, as human beings, there is always something that you want to do or would need to do, or in another case, you are expected to do. Yes, it's not a play of words. So there is something that, yes, you choose, you want to do that, or you have to do that, or you must, or you are expected to do. Let me break it down. So today, for instance, I woke up and I needed to eat. Yes, I need to eat to get some energy so that I can go about my daily duties. Yes. So these are some of the things that as humans is very innate I need to do. I had wanted to do a little bit of run, to jog. I can choose to do that. It's a want, not very necessary. But also, as somebody who am employed by another person that pays me, yes, I am expected to go out there and work. Yes. And all these things that I'm doing, that I go about doing, they all have a role in my life. And for people, like once we start to do it routinely, develop a habit around that, we just get to do that with ease without thinking about it. Sometimes, yeah, those things that we expected to do, can be a little bit of stress, but we get on to do that. And it's believed that you as a person, how you are made up, your makeup is such that there is always something you want to do. Yes. And doing things comes natural with you. But is it always the fun, or is it a simple task as we are thinking? Okay, good. So I've established the first point that as people, there is always something that we want to do. And this is purely occupational therapy, a profession and the background that we work in. Good. That aside, let's make a cup of tea. So all the things that you do, how do you do that? What is required for you to do that? You know, making a cup of tea. Yes, there's a tea bag, but that will fit into the ingredients. I want us to think about all the things that is required of you as a person. That will help you to complete the task of thinking, I want to make a cup of tea, to it going right, to beginning to sip your cup of tea. Yes, that's the processes. And if you really understand this, you're not going to go on saying, oh, that person is lazy. No. It may be that an aspect of the process is what the person needs help with. That's why the person is not going making that cup of tea, or maybe that's where the injury or their disability is impacting upon. That's why they are not able to make their own cup of tea. Okay, good. Okay, so let's carry on. Yeah, let me see if everything is all right with the stream. Is Ellen today here and trying to help you to understand all the complexity to a simple activity of making yourself a cup of tea. Good. And I think from now on, you'll be able to appreciate it when you make your lovely cup of tea as you think through all the energy, all the efforts, and all the resources that has gone into you making your cup of tea. Okay, good. Okay. Yes, if you are with me, please do send a hi and let me acknowledge you watching me. Good. So let's carry on. To make a cup of tea, a person have to think of the process of what she or he want to make. And here we are thinking of the cognitive abilities. So what goes on in your head, in the person's brain? Okay, I'm going to make a cup of tea. What are the steps involved? Or what are the sequence involved to me making my cup of tea? Yes, if you have a particular way of making your cup of tea, you can put that in the chat. So what is the sequence that you use to make your cup of tea? Or those from Ghana to make your hot chocolate? Umi, you know. All the steps, Ben. What are the steps required to making your Milo, your hot chocolate? Yes, you can put that down. To make a cup of tea, most people will need to boil water. Yes. And boiling the water, you are thinking of either boiling it on the stove or using a kettle. We'll make a choice at some point. So once I get my boiled water, I need to get a mug that I'm going to make the cup of tea in. So in my kitchen, where are the mug? That is something that you have to think of. Or even if you are using a tea bunshia or a British tea cup, that's the joke. Yes, you have to look for where these items are. How do you get the water into a kettle or into the saucepan that you're going to boil the water in? Okay, so you should be knowledgeable as to where the water is and how to access the water. Let's say you have a finished like kitchen with sink. So you just turn on the tap and you fill your kettle. Good. So I've talked about three sequence. Boil getting a kettle, the source of heat, get accessing water, getting the mug that you're going to make the tea in. And for other people, you are going to use a spoon to stir. Yes, good. So gather your utensils that you're going to use to make the cup of tea. Yes. This is even after the person has been able to move themselves to the kitchen. So let's say I'm entertaining this idea in my bedroom and I have to go to the kitchen. Then there is an element of me being able to walk from the place that I am to the place that I have to make the cup of tea. So making a cup of tea does not just happen. Even before I start actioning, doing the physical aspect, the observable part that people will see that I am doing, I'm using my brain to think so much of the processes involved. So if the person cognitive ability is such that they cannot think to sequence the processes or the steps required to making the cup of tea. And for some particular activities, they depend on following one sequence after the other. You cannot start from bottom down. No, it has to be one, then you go to two, then you go to three. And what are some of the typical people, like when people have stroke and their brain, part of their brain is affected? Yes, they cannot go to the kitchen to make themselves a cup of tea because they are not able to think through the process that are required to make themselves the cup of tea. I hope I'm on a level that people are understanding. It's not too much up there. Yes. So in plain language, to make yourself a cup of tea, one has to be able to think and know the steps that are required. So if somebody is not able to do an activity or to make their cup of tea, then it may be that the processes, the thought processes to sequencing it, and it's very common with people who have either had any condition that has affected their brain. Example is stroke or a mental health problem that affecting how they are thinking and how their cognitive processes. Yes. So they may not be able to think of the processes required to complete that task. Yes. That's what goes on in our brain. What about the motor? The hands and how we use that. The hands and the legs. Yes. So for most people, to make your cup of tea, you need to be able to what? Use your hands. And how many times is it that people have been injured that they are not able to do the things that they want to do? And unfortunately, like it's the bitter truth, in some parts of the world, when people sustain injury, it's more like a death sentence, especially injury to their hands. Because most of the things that we do are done with our hands, with the fingers, and with that, it helps us to do most of the things that we do in life. So if a person sustain injury or they have a condition that is affecting the use of their hands to make a cup of tea or any other related activity that the person will want to do, definitely a motor deficit or an injury to a part of the body is likely going to impact on how they are able to complete the task. And we have lots of examples. People who have had they've had accidents and they've had, let's say, amputation either above the wrist or below the elbow. Yes, most of the people, you can say we did them. Aye. It, okay, but let me summarize what I've said in Chi. Maybe there's somebody there who would really appreciate that. Good. Yes, I only speak English in Chi, so I can't go further than that. Me say, meka say, nipa, sɛ woyɛ tea, ka sɛ woyɛ tea. A simple activity. Ɛyɛ adeɛ a ne yɛ yɛbu yɛni gu so ho sɛ na sɛ tea deɛ sisi a no ayɛ. Daabi. Ɛnyɛ mmerɛ saa. Si yɛka sɛ yɛbiebie mu ahwɛ nneɛma a ɛkɔm sɛ obi ɛyɛ tea a, nneɛma bebree na ɛyɛ dɛn ɛkɔm. Deɛ medii kan ɛkae ne sɛ nipa no ohia sɛ n'adwene ɛyɛ dɛn ɛtumi ɛboa no ɛma no ɛdwendwene akwan like atenapoyɛ atrapoyɛ a ɛwowɔ mu. Okay, mepɛ sɛ meyɛ tea. Deɛ na ɛdi kan? Ɛwɔ sɛ medi kan noa nsuo. Ɛwɔ sɛ mekɔsesa nneɛma no a mede bɛyɛ tea no. Ɛwɔ sɛ mesɔ me gya. Ɛwɔ sɛ menya nneɛma a mede ɛbɛyɛ tea no ankasa. Ɛno ne yɛ nneɛma a wodwendwene ho ɛfa w'adwene. Mpɛn pii no sɛ nnipa adwene ho ɛte kyema a, sɛdeɛ obetumi adwene ho anaasɛ n'adwene no betumi aboa ama n'ahu sɛ mefiri baako na mekɔ mmienu na mekɔ mmiɛnsa no, ebi etumi sɔfa ɛma ɔmo nyɛ dɛn? Ɔmo ntumi. Nti nyɛ sɛ tea no ɛna wɔntumi nyɛ, na mmom n'adwene no ho baabi na ayɛ dɛn? Ate kyema. Enti obetumi asɔ gya no, na mmom ɔnkae kwan a ɛfa so yɛ dɛn? Ebu nsuo gu kettle no mu. Anaasɛ ɔde nsuo gu kettle no mu koraa ne werɛ afi mpo sɛ ɔbɛyɛ dɛn? Ɔbɛsɔ. Na ɔpɛ tea a ɛyɛ hye. Nso obewie no na wayɛ tea a ɛyɛ nsuo no no. Ɔntumi nnom. Kyerɛ sɛ n'adwene no ho baabi a ɛyɛ dɛn? Ate kyema. Nnipa, yɛhia yɛn adwene no paa wɔ adeɛ biara a yɛyɛ. Na yareɛ bi a ɛtumi ma yɛn adwene no ho ɛte kyema ne sɛ bi a stroke anaasɛ obi a n'adwene mu ayɛ dɛn? Adi dɛm. Obi a yɛsɛ wanya adwene mu yareɛ. Saa nnipa no, ɔmo adwene baabi a ɛwɔ no ɛntumi mboa ɛnsɔpɔɔte ɛmma nneɛma a ɛyɛ mmerɛ a me ne wo yɛtumi ɛyɛ no easily no, ɔmo ɛntumi ɛnyɛ no easy. Nti ɛno ne first one a ayɛ dɛn? Yɛaka. Ɛna second one nso ne sɛ nnipa no nso yɛ honam akwaa no nso ɛho ehia paa a ɛboa yɛn. Bi te sɛ yɛn nsa a yɛde bɛfa adeɛ no, yɛn nan a yɛde bɛnante akɔ, yɛn ani a yɛde bɛhu, yɛaso a yɛde bɛtie anaa yɛn hwene a yɛde bɛyɛ dɛn? Ɛbɛsmɛɛle. Sɛ saa nneɛma wei sei ɛnni hɔ a, ɛmboa yɛn ɛmma tea no a yɛsɛ yɛyɛ dɛn? Anaa saa simple activity no a yɛpɛ sɛ yɛyɛ no, yɛnyɛ dɛn? Yɛntumi ɛnkɔyɛ. Yeah, so that was a summary of what I've said so far, that we're looking at the complexity in making a simple activity like a cup of tea. Let's carry on. So we've talked about the brain processes and how if it's not fully functional or if there is any deficit, it's likely going to impact on how we are able to complete a simple task. Okay, we've talked about the motor skills, our hands, our legs, our ability to move. And that's why for most people, once they've had a life-changing condition like stroke, spinal cord injury, motor neuron disease, Parkinson, amputation, they begin to see themselves like, I have this limitation in a body part. I have this limitation in a body structure. I cannot do the things in the way that I used to do it, so I can't do it. But that's not the case. Yes, an aspect of the body may be impaired. You may have a deficit. Yes, you may have a challenge or a struggle, but that does not mean it's the end. There are different ways that this can be looked at, that you can actually regain your function. That's why we have the rehabilitation professionals that you can see, and they can either help you if it's a weakened body part, they can help you to strengthen that part of the body, relearn that lost function. Let's say it's your hands that is become so weak, like very flaccid after stroke. You cannot hold an item. Yes, they can help you such that you have good control on your hand and you can grab and you can hold things and do things as you used to do. Yes, it's Ellen. Ellen on Life's Journey. And today we are looking at the complexity to making a cup of tea. Yes, I hope you guys are with me. Good. Yes, if you come and watch this video later on, put a comment there, and I'll come round and respond to that. So we've talked about the cognitive processes, and we've also talked about the motor functions that are involved, and also the body structures that are involved to making our cup of tea. Good. What if people who struggles to relate with other people? Yes, making a cup of tea, I have noticed, is a very, very social activity. Yes, people invite their friends, they sit around, have a cup of tea, and they socialize. Yes. So if you are someone that you are struggling to maintain a social relationship or to establish a social relationship, yes, considering how you're going to manage making cup of tea in a social context, there are definitely some social cues that you need to be aware of if there are two of you. And this one does not even relate to people with impairment. Yes, it's simple courtesy. We all have different ways that we make our cup of tea. And to make you a cup of tea, I need to have interactions with you. Okay. Do you need sugar? Said yes, 2 spoons. Or the person may say, I'm sweet enough. Yes, that's no sugar. So your ability to interact with the person, to engage in a communication, socially accepted communication in relation to the task that you are doing, helps people to do the things that they have to do. And when people struggle with some of these things, it's likely that they cannot complete the task that they have to do. Yes, so that's one real thing that you have to bear in mind. So we talked about the cognitive processes. We talked about the, yes, which one? The motor functions that are required. And we've also talked about, yes, and we've also, oh yeah, and we've also talked about the processes that are required to making your cup of tea. So next time that you're thinking about, oh, that person can't do what they have to do, pause and think. Is it the whole thing as making the cup of tea that they can't complete? Or it is an aspect of it that they can't complete? And if you get to understand this and appreciate it, is there that you know that, okay, yes, people do things, they do it differently, and a difficulty in an aspect of their body is likely to impact how they do things. Good. Let me talk about the last component that impacts how people are able to do the things that they do, and that is purely the environment. Yes, talking about the physical environment and also the social environment. Yes, I want to make a cup of tea, but if I live in an environment, in a space that the kitchen is so poorly lit that when I walk in, I can't find anything, how will I make my cup of tea? Huh? If you enter a space and it's so dark and you can't see anything, how can you complete the task? So, in all the things that people do, one key thing that you have to really take into consideration is the environment. And the environment, in so many ways, impacts on whether a person can do what they've gone out to do or they cannot do what they want to do. So the next time you start thinking about, or you are sipping a simple cup of tea, know that it's because you have learned these skills and you have all the abilities to be able to do that. But on the flip side, with people who, for one reason or the other, because of a condition that they are going through, they are not able to complete that, then you know that it's a complex task. Yes, as human beings, we want to do to help us to survive, but a deficit in a body part, a body function, or a body structure, or even an unsupportive environment is likely to hinder your ability to complete a task that you need to complete. And this leads me to the next session. So, what if someone cannot complete some of these basic things that you and we take for granted? What if, for some reason, for an illness or for an injury, a person cannot complete any of the basic things? They can't get themselves out of bed, they cannot even use the toilet. And I use the cup of tea, that's just a simple activity. Yes, getting yourself in and out of a bed, we do it so much easy with no effort. But when things go wrong in your system and you look at it and you break it down, or if you sit down with a professional and they tell you the things that goes into getting yourself in and on and off a bed, you know that the body is a complex system. The human system is so complex that it guides and it directs us to the things that we do. Okay. So next time, if you're able to make your cup of tea, get yourself off a bed, appreciate that there was a bit of thought processes, motor abilities, environmental, and your social and space that help you to do that. I know in this world now, there are lots of people living with different abilities. There are lots of people who have a long-term illness, or lots of people struggling with different conditions that prevents them from doing what they have to do. This will lead on to our next discussion: when people cannot do what they have to do. You as the carer, you as the loved one, what do you do? Okay, so when people are struggling, an example, a wife, husband, let's say the man have stroke and a loving wife, what is your role? Some of these conditions, what are the prognosis? Is it temporal that the person can't do what they have to do, or is it something that is going to be continuous? If you understand what the person is going through, then the appropriate choice can be made. Yes. Good. So we go through that. What if someone cannot do something? What is it? How do we break it down? How do you understand the person? No, you don't lump it all to say that he's lazy, he or she is lazy, he's pretending to be sick, he doesn't want to help themselves. No, but you also don't have to be over loving such that you don't support the person to relearn a skill that they have lost, to relearn to do things the way that, with the abilities that they have. I've got company. Bye bye. Yes. So you have to support them to relearn how to do some of these. Yeah, we'll go into a bit deeper and to look at, okay, if my child can't do this, how do I break it down to know which aspect is it that they can do now? How do I start from there so that they build upon that to overcome the aspects that they cannot do? Yes, it's Ellen on Life's Journey, and today I came to simply share with you the complexity, all that goes into making the cup of tea. Yes, it's not the tea bag, the sugar, the milk, and the water. No, it's all about the motor ability required, the cognitive processes required, the social interaction skills required, and the appropriate environment that are required to support you to complete this task. And it is the same for all the things that you do. Is it your education? Is it your work? Is it everything? Consider all these factors because it's an interplay of all these factors that will help you to be able to complete the thing that you set out to do. Thank you so much for watching this far. I really appreciate if you found this video very helpful. Click on the like button and also share to other people. Okay, until I come your way next time, as we look more into I can't do this, what is going on. Yes, we're going to discuss more about that. I wish you all the best of luck, and next time when you make your kappa, think through all the efforts that you have put in. Bye bye.